Hey guys, welcome back to Boots and Betty Homestead. Now, if you caught one of my last couple of videos, you've seen where I put together the 3 days of getting Otis the Sourdough Starter from Jill at Whispering Willow Farm started. We got him rehydrated and he is super duper active. He is ready to go. This is a very great starter. If you guys want to get this, I'll put the link either in this video or in one of the last couple of videos because I did a pancake recipe using the sourdough starter discard. So I've done a lot today. You're just going to get it over a few days. Okay, so we have our starter ready. And this is what Otis looks like. All bubbly. Look at that big bowl. Looking good. This is the line of where, when I fed him, this is the line of where the dough is. So it has at least tripled. Now, that one is actually the last discard, and I kept it because I want to do 2 batches. And this one, I put a line right there. That little Sharpie line. Because once it got to where it is now, it's probably been a couple of hours. And I was actually, I kind of got scared. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's going to be done. Fail. Started collapsing and I'm going to miss the peak. So I put a little dot right there just to show myself, to let me know if it has started collapsing, which it has reached its peak and is then descending. Because if so, then you will have to do the last feeding over again and wait probably at least 3 hours. 3 to 4 hours. And so that kind of throws the process off if you have planned to bake it at a certain time, which I have. I explained that also in the Reviving Otis video that I just did of the 3 days where I went through and rehydrated him and fed him and got him going. I explained of kind of when to start what. And I followed Jill's instructions, and to the side I kind of put the date, the day of the week that I started it on, because I'm probably going to be doing most of my baking on a Saturday or Sunday. And so that way I will know what day to start what on. And I did start it from the beginning of hydrating Otis on a day of the week morning, which I started this past Wednesday. And then we did 2 feedings, and then we did 2 feedings Thursday, and then 2 feeding, well, we did 1 feeding today. You discard on day 2 and day 3. It's all in the instructions once you purchase her Otis Sourdough Starter. And so I want you to go to her channel, and or you can go to the website. I'll put that down below as well, and get you one if you want to start one, because Otis is really super duper good and it has really been easy. So now we are to the point that Otis is strong and he is viable. All those big bubbles. So he is, that bubble right there is just, it's huge. So he's ready to make bread. But not quite yet, because we actually won't get bread until tomorrow. So we've got to start a process now where we mix different things together, and then we have to do a series of it's lifts and folds and letting it rest, and it's going to be a process. So I may not get bread till tomorrow about lunchtime, and it's 3 o'clock now. But if we never start, then we'll never get bread. So I'm following her video recipe that Jill from Whispering Willow Farm has, that she created about a year ago. And I believe it's one of the top videos that she has kind of as a an upload flasher video. I don't know what they're called. But whenever you go to the channel, it's one of the first ones you see. And it's making bread, making sourdough bread from about a year ago. I'm using that recipe just because I've never done this before with doing a starter. Now I have started my own starter from scratch. And I told the story in the last video that I ended up killing it, but for the first 3 or 4 months, I made a lot of stuff. And everything was good. And it eventually ended up dying on me once I did not use it. I stored it in the refrigerator, fed it weekly, and it still it croaked on me. And I wasted 3 months of flour trying to revive it. And it was not happening. So my starter must not have been strong enough. Otis is. So we are fixing to make bread using her recipe, since this is her starter, and I wanted to share it with you guys just in case you don't watch her, which is fine. And let's go ahead and get started. I'll tell you what we need. Okay guys, so I've got 2 clear bowls because I've got 2 starters that I'm going to make 2 different loaves out of. Like I said, I wanted to make one for my sister. So I've got 2 different bowls here, and I am doing clear bowls because I want you guys to see all the bubbles that is going to be in our bread once it ferments. So to start off, we're going to take 50 grams. Now you have to have a kitchen scale and a couple of bowls here that you can put on here and go ahead and weigh your items out with. And we're going to need 50 to 100 grams of sourdough. I'm going to go ahead and do 100 because me and my sister really enjoy the taste of sourdough bread. So I'm going to go ahead and get out 100 grams each just in this bowl, and then I'll put 1 in each bowl. You will notice whenever you start getting this out that it's going to be really, really sticky. It's going to be like Spider-Man's webs. Oh, let me turn it on. Alright, grams. And since my bowl is already on there, when it zeroes out, I don't have to tare it, which means bring it to 0. Alright, that's 60. Let's get a little bit more. That's 98.5. We'll get just a hair more. Call it a day. Alright. We'll put this in 1 bowl. And your sourdough may kind of be differently every single time that you make it. Simply because of the amount of sourdough that you use. Now we're going to set this to the side for a moment. And we'll go ahead and measure this one out. All right. Try to get all of it back down in the bowl here. I mean, back down in the jar. I like to keep mine towards the bottom because I don't like my stuff to dry out along the edges. All right. Get the sourdough off my hands. Okay, so this sourdough is going in this secondary bowl over here. So now to the sourdough starters that the sourdough starters that are in the bowls, we've got to add water. And I'm going to go ahead and finish up using up my sterilized water because not necessarily with the bread, but when you're starting dough, you want that distilled or purified water so it doesn't have all the chemicals and stuff that's going to inhibit the growth of the bacteria, such as the chlorine and the fluoride, because it's meant to kill germs. And what we are trying to do is ferment it, so you don't want all of the impurities that are in water to kill the bacteria that you're trying to grow. Kind of defeats the purpose. So in here, we are going to have water to each one. Alright, so once we've got our water added, we're going to go ahead and just stir this together. Just kind of loosen up the sourdough so it's not all in one clump. Alright, that's got it all mixed together. Now the next thing we are going to need to measure out is 500 grams of bread. Good Lord. Okay, now we mix it up. And before I get too far gone in this, salt. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of salt in it. And this is going to double in size, so don't let the salt content scare you. And I also use pink Himalayan, so it's actually got good minerals and benefits in it that your body needs. And this isn't to make the bread technically salty, but of course some people like their bread a little saltier than others. Me, I wouldn't know the difference unless it, you know, it just has salt on top of it, like garlic toast or something like that. You know, then I would know that salt was on it. But as per a taste being in it, nah, I don't think I would really know. I just know that we usually use about a teaspoon, half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon per, like a bread recipe. Alright, and this dough is going to be really thick and sticky. You're not looking for like a bread loaf texture. This is going to be sticky. Okay. And this will, you know, don't be adding flour to it. Try not to get sticky. This is the correct hydration that it's going to need, because what happens in a recipe like this, the flour has not technically absorbed all of the water. So it's going to continue as it rises to rehydrate that flour. And so it's going to be less sticky. Alright, so let's do the next one. Okay, so once we've got these two mixed, they do look pretty ugly, to say the least. Both of them very raw. And so what we're going to do is cover these, and we're just going to let them rest for an hour before we start our next step. So I'll see you back then. Okay guys, so it's actually been over an hour. So we have got to do what is called a lift and fold. We have to do this about 25 times the first time that we do this. And then we have to let it rest. We're going to have to do this every 30 minutes for about 3 or 4 hours. And so let's go ahead and get started. Now what you're going to do, you're going to have to get dirty. You're going to have to reach down in here, and you're just going to lift it and fold it over. Okay? Go to the next little section. Lift it and fold it over. And you're going to kind of tuck it on the side. Okay? Go as far down to the bottom as you can. Lift it and fold it over. We're going to cover these up again and set the timer for 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and do it again. Okay, so our 30 minutes is up. Here's our starter. So now we've got a lift and fold. Now I noticed the first time I did it that whenever we picked it up and folded it over, the more I did it, the tighter it got. And the point of doing this is to put all those bubbles and stuff in there. So I've seen some bubbles in it. So start learning as you're doing this, as you're lifting and folding, of what the texture feels like, so you can kind of know when to stop. Now, we did it like 20-25 times the first time. This time and from now on, we don't have to do it as much. We'll probably do it about 10 and kind of see what it feels like and see how it changes. And this is going to be a learning process for your hands to learn what the dough is supposed to feel like. So let's go ahead and, it's hot right there. Let's go ahead and do the fold this time for both of them, and then we'll restart the timer for 30 minutes and come back and do another set. Quick follow-up real quick, guys. I did the lift and fold process for about 4 hours. So I did it 7 or 8 times. Then you have to leave it in the bowls that you have it in. Cover it with a damp cloth, and you can either leave it laying on the countertop or you can put it inside the oven. You can even sit it on top of the refrigerator on the back where the heat comes up from the vent on the back. Just something to keep it warm. So it really depends on the temperature in your house, especially being over here at the end of the house, farthest away from the unit. The kitchen is actually the coldest part. So what I've done is I've put it in the oven and cut the light on, and they're going to stay in there all night until in the morning. Then we are going to get it ready, do a couple more things, and we're going to get it ready to go in the Dutch oven so we can get it cooked tomorrow. I did notice that the way mine was feeling, I'll just tell you the way it was feeling. Do you know, like it's called fart putty? If y'all remember, like the fart putty, and it's, you know, the little clear things, little clear containers, and it's got the gel stuff in it, and you push it down in there, and the air bubbles come up, and it, you know, makes that fart sound. Okay, so if you remember what that feels like, if you were trying to maybe pull it apart and it was kind of stiff and crackly, like whenever you pull it apart, it had a kind of a plasticky texture. That is what the dough reminded me of. So whenever I would go down and lift it up, I could feel the crackles in it as it was kind of like ripping apart on the inside, because the bubbles that because whenever you lift and fold, you're putting air pockets in the bread, and that's what gives those big holes in the sourdough. The lift and fold is what creates that. And then whenever you start doing it like too much, you start feeling the texture get real thick and heavy, like it's really dense in your hands, and you start to feel the inside just kind of, it feels like it's tearing, but it's not really tearing. Those air bubbles are kind of starting to pop. So I did notice that once I started feeling that, it was time to stop. At first it'd be real smooth and flowing, and then it would start getting real thick and that fart putty texture. Whenever you do this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. We will see you back in the morning, and I'll let you know what the dough looks like that's in the oven. Good night, guys. Good morning, and it is baking day. So I just got my bowls with my dough out of the oven. Had to clean up a little mess because the short clear bowl was not exactly big enough to hold everything after it had risen. So let me show you what they look like, and I'm going to have to do a little bowl swapping around as we do the next step, because these have to go in the refrigerator, and I don't have 2 more bowls to use to put a liner in, like the cotton cloth liner, cheesecloth, something like that. I'm going to use tea towels. I don't have 2 extra bowls that are big enough. So I'm going to take them out and clean them. And then I'm going to put the tea towels in it and then put it back in there. Because I don't have the Banneton baskets. And I'm looking into getting some if this is going to be something I'm going to continue to do. But they are not necessary. So let me show you what they look like. And then I'll show you the next step that we've got to do. Alright, so here they are. And my towels that I put over these were wet. So they did not stick to the dough. It's going to make a liar out of me. I got to slow down. Hopefully. Some areas did get dry, and that's okay. Alright, I'm going to have to soak that one. Need to get some beeswax wraps. And I know just the girl to get them from. Okay. This right here is crusty. Like it didn't stay covered. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that away. I can't revive that. Okay. So I'm going to get everything back in here. What we've got to do now is another set of lift and folds. Which is going to decrease it back in size. It's going to pop those bubbles. So let me go ahead before I get my hands all dirty with that. Let's open up this one. Like I said, whatever sticks to it, sticks to it. I'm not fighting it at this point. Because it ran way over. If it's wet, I want it in here. Yeah, see, all of that's wet. Alright. I will take care of those later. Alright. So there's the second one. Oh, it's just stuck to the stove. Get it all back in here. It is very yeasty smelling. I can smell it now. Okay. So now we've got to do a lift and fold for the last time. Do it about 6 times and kind of get it shaped. And from there, I've got an extra bowl here that I'm going to put a towel down in and flour real good, just like you would if you had the Banneton baskets. And then I've got to move one at a time and wash the bowl. And then I've got to transfer it back so I can do the other one, if you know what I mean. So we'll do that in just a minute. Let's go ahead. And you can see lots of spider webbing. And that's good. That's what we want. So just pull it back and do a lift and a fold. Hi, sir. Hi. Getting sticky. Okay, so that one is done. Swap it over. Let's do this one. Let me wash my hands and get the tea towels out. Okay, so here's my tea towels that I'm going to use. And we need to flour this pretty heavy. Now, Jill uses brown rice flour. I'm going to make some to use in one, and then I'm going to use flour in the other, because a lot of people either like me can't find brown rice flour, or you have to make your own, or you may not even have brown rice. I have seen where people use cornmeal. You can use cornmeal, but this is just a rough and tough texture to keep it from sticking to the towel itself. So let me make some brown rice flour real quick. Okay, so now we've just got a fine powder that we are going to use. Alright, let's see if it sticks to this cloth, because if not, then I may have to wet it a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to wet it a little bit. Now, it's wet. It's damp. I wring it out. Really good. Alright. And this is not going to be like shaping so much like the crinkles and stuff. I'm not worried about all of the wrinkles and stuff, because that's not what it's going to take on the shape of. If you know what I mean. It may have some wrinkles, but it's not done yet, and it's going to take on the shape of whatever you bake it in. Alright, now let's get down and dirty with this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pour the excess out, because it's some of the bigger pieces. Okay, so since we did the lift and fold, and the folds are on top, we are now going to turn this over, best we can, and put it down, put the folded side down in our bowl. Okay, that looks really good. Now, what I'm saying is I'm going to have to go ahead and wash this bowl and get it ready, because I've got to take this out of this bowl, the cloth and everything, and transfer it into this bowl to be able to refrigerate and do the last fermentation. Let's go ahead and transfer this over here. Now, this is going to be the bowl that it's going in the refrigerator in. Okay, let me get my other tea towel ready to do the second one. Alright, now so in this one I'm going to do flour. So let's see. If you don't have the brown rice or cornmeal or anything like that, we're going to do flour in here. Me particularly, I like the coverage of the flour better. But that's just me. Okay, I'm going to leave a little bit in here, because we've got to do a couple of lift and folds in here. And that way, you know, we can incorporate a little bit of that flour into doing that lift and fold. I tell you, the sourdough is about making me ready to cut my fingernails off. I have cleaned my fingernails more than I have in a long time. So now while my hands are dirty, we're going to do the last little bit of lift and folds, probably about 6 more times. And this time we are, we're just shaping it. We're not actually putting the air bubbles in it. So we want to make sure that it's pulling away nicely. And we just need to shape it, make it look decent. Or you don't have to, doesn't really matter. But if you see that it needs just a few more air bubbles or whatever, then you can just, you know, go ahead and do that. The lift and folds is just going to make it kind of just a rounder shape. See, that one looks good. And that rice flour around the outside is doing really good. Okay. I'm just going to leave it in this bowl since the other one is over there. I'm just going to leave it in here. This one is the flour. And anywhere the flour is not, it is sticking. But again, this is just shaping it. Yes, I do like the brown rice flour better. It's kind of getting stuck on here. Maybe I need a little flour in those spots. This one ain't gonna be as purty. Purdy. P-U-R-D-Y. Purdy. Okay. Now, we've got it shaped. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of lightly cover this. Like just edge to edge kind of thing. Since this is wet, it's going to keep that dough from drying out. And hopefully to keep it from sticking. Alright. So I just folded those in half like that, just to overlap it, so that way it's not real tight and it gives it room to expand a little bit. Now these need to go in the refrigerator. Let me wash my hands real quick. Okay, so the next step we're going to have to do is let it do a last ferment and a last rise in the refrigerator. And you need to leave it in the refrigerator from as little as 3 hours, or if you want to bake it tomorrow, you can leave it in there for 24 hours. At this time tomorrow, I'll be getting ready for church, and there is not going to be a possibility for me to be able to bake this tomorrow. My plan was to bake it today. So it's 9 o'clock. If I put it in the refrigerator, I can leave it in the refrigerator till at least 12. I may even leave it till 2. Let's just see where the time takes us. But I will let you know how long I actually leave it in there. But you can leave it in there up to 24 hours. I wouldn't leave it any more than that, because the longer you leave it, the stronger the sour taste is going to get. For my first batch, I may try between like 3 and 5 hours. And you're going to I've got to plan it to where I can basically do 2 cookings, because I only have 1 Dutch oven. So I've got to run my stove for at least 2 hours and then be able to cool off for an hour. So I've got to bake one, and then I've got to take it out and put the other one immediately in and then stick it back in. So I've got to play my time with doing 2 different batches, since I've got 2 different loaves and only 1 Dutch oven. So, and you could do this in your loaf pans if you wanted, but you know, I want to be all fancy, and I want to score it, and I want to, you know, have that crispy outside. I want to see what it's like to make what you see other people make. Because I've never had it that way. I've never like eaten it that way, and I've never eaten it out of a Dutch oven. So I mean, I want to try stuff that I hadn't done yet. But you can put these loaves into loaf pans and cook them that way. I'm not sure about the timing. So let's stick these in the refrigerator, and then we'll transfer them over to the Dutch oven whenever that time comes. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay guys, so it's been right at 5 hours. It's a little before 2 o'clock now. And I've already got the oven preheated to 450. And I got the first loaf out of the refrigerator. Looks really good. And whenever you get it out of the refrigerator, it will be kind of crusted on top. And that's what you need. Because, oh, and I got my Dutch oven out. And what we've got to do now is we've got to score it. And you can put some kind of little design on it if you want. Just get on Pinterest and find something maybe easy that you can do. And remember that whenever you find a design that you put in it, it's not necessarily going to look like that. So make sure you have before and after pictures if you decide to do one thing or another. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just a simple, what they call a wheat design. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this where you guys can see it. I've never done this before, so bear with me, okay? So what we're going to do is we've got to score it. So whenever it bakes, it has room kind of to expand. And I can see a couple of the bubbles in here. So that's a good sign. Alright, so I'm going to score it. And you really need a sharp knife or a razor blade. And whenever you score it, it should come apart You should be able to see it kind of open up. You can probably see it there. Yeah. I'm just going to do like a little half moon here. Kind of get it to score. And while you're scoring, go ahead and preheat your oven to 450 degrees. If you are using a Dutch oven, like my red one over here. Okay, so I've got one over there. I'm going to do one on this side. And, whoo, that's hot. Okay, so I am going to do the wheat pattern. Yes. And make sure that your knife is actually cutting the dough, not just pushing it down. Now, we've got to transfer this into the Dutch oven. All right, put you guys back over here. Y'all watch and make sure I don't make a mess. I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle some more of the brown rice flour on top, just so it doesn't stick to my hands. So just kind of sprinkle some of that on top. Yay! Okay. It's not in the middle, but it's in there. Okay, I'm going to kind of turn it a little bit. Okay. Now I am going to cover this, and it's got to stay just like this. Okay, I'm going to stick it in the oven. Now, you've got to leave it in the oven. You cannot open the oven or the Dutch oven, whatever pot or whatever you are cooking it in. You've got to leave it as is for 40 minutes. Don't come in here and touch it. Don't come in here and peek at it or anything. If you're going to peek at it, you're going to have to look through the glass on your door and not even open the door. So you gotta try it, okay? You just gotta run with what we're telling you. And because I've never done this before either. So yeah, I'm going to be nervous my first time to see how it turns out. So the first thing we're going to do is put the Dutch oven in the big oven, and we are going to let it cook for 40 minutes. Okay, our 40 minutes is up, and so now we've got to take the lid off of the Dutch oven and put it back in for 10 more minutes. So let's see what it looks like real quick. There it is. Okay, it is still sizzling. Slide it back. Alright, push it back in there. Now I'm going to set my timer for 10 more minutes, and we'll bring you back and see what she looks like. Alright, it's been 10 minutes. Let's get it out. Looky there. That is picture perfect, except for the little top up there. So, the next one I'm doing, here's the next one I'm doing. And you can see that I have cut my design in it with scissors. So I went through and I just, clipped it around the edge, and then I clipped my little wheat design in it, and I'm going to see if that makes a difference. So we've got to let this cool off just a little bit before I can put this one in there and then have to cook it again. So give us just a few minutes and let me get everything swapped over. So that is the next one that's going in. This one I put on a cooling rack, and I'm actually going to take it in there on the table. Let it sit there for an hour. I don't want to touch it. It's like cracking and popping, and you can hear it. So I don't want to bother it until it is ready. I'll move it in there on the kitchen table and let it cool off, and I'll let you see the second one when it's done. So I'll see you in a second. Okay guys, I got the second loaf out. And here it is. Very pretty. This is the one that had the flour on it. I think it looks super good. The this right here is where I cut the line. So I don't know, the wheat pattern is somewhere over here. I think I can see them right there. So I don't know about the scoring just yet. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to have to play around with it because it doesn't look like, you know, the normal pictures. I don't know if I'm not doing it deep enough. But you can see that, you know, it's where I cut it. And you can see over here, here's the line where I cut it. So I don't know if it's just, I don't know, the moisture of my bread. The texture of it whenever I score it. I don't really know what it is. I think it was a little bit wetter or a little bit more moist. I don't know. But I'm going to keep trying. We got Otis still going. He's taking a nap in the refrigerator for a few days to give me a few days to recuperate. Because I have videoed this like every day since Wednesday for 4 days now. I have been videoing what I've done with Otis. So I'm tired, and it's not a lot. It's just a lot to have to do and video sometimes. But I want to share this experience with you guys just in case you want to do this. This is my experience, and I want it to be a good one for you as well if it's something that you want to do. So, bread is done, and the other one I believe should be cool now, because if this one cooked for an hour, that one's already been out for an hour. Let's go in there and cut into it real quick and see what it looks like, because I have no clue. If it looks like a hot mess, it's just gonna look like a hot mess on camera because I don't know, I hadn't seen it yet. So fingers crossed this is gonna be good. Let me get Emma because she wanted to try it, and I'll probably get a little butter and we'll try a little butter on it. But okay, let's go cut it real quick and let me get my bread knife. Okay. All right, so here's our first loaf, and it's still kind of warm, but it has been at least an hour for it to set. You don't want to cut it too early because it may deflate. So we definitely don't want that. So let's go ahead and, you know, cut into the end here. Mm-hmm. Let's cut into the end. Now I do have a serrated knife. These are best when cutting bread. Let's see. It's so crunchy. I never made crusty bread like that. Okay. Ew. Looky there. Look at all them holes. You want to touch it? Now, let's see. There's a sign of good bread when it springs back. Yeah. Alright. Let's try some. I haven't had sourdough in a long time.
Me neither.
The bottom is a little crusty.
Just a little bit.
Hang on.
The camera.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Go. Kind of chewy. Definitely crusty. The dough itself, the bread part,
It's squishy.
it's kind of shiny. And from my experience with sourdough, that's usually the way my pancakes turn out. It's kind of like a wet dough. Chewy. It has the tangy taste to it. The crust is really hard.
It really is.
What do I need to change, people? It looks good, but it's not like fluffy and dry like normal bread. It's kind of moist chewy.
The crust is a little hard.
I don't know. Anybody had experience with it? Let me know. It is very dense. I followed the instructions to the T. It's a pretty loaf. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't really look like everybody else's. Okay, so I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you needed to see how I went through doing the starter, go back and watch the last video. This one is just making the bread, and I will put the link to Jill's starter down below so you guys can purchase it, because I'm not gonna give away her recipe because it's her recipe and it comes with her starter. So I'll put Jill's link down below. If you guys want to go and buy Otis as a starter, you can do that, and then you automatically get the download for the recipe with that purchase. So I don't want to take that away from her or anything. I just wanted to show my experience with you guys. So Jill, if you're watching, thank you, and let me know if I did something wrong or if I need to change something, because I don't know, I think the bread is a little off. So let me know if I need to do something different. I'll play around with it and see if maybe it was the weather, because it did snow. So it may just be bad timing, but we'll definitely bake it again, see what we get next time, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So until next time, we'll see you later. Bye. Surprise ending. So I wanted to do a follow-up, because in the bread video you just watched, I had a little difficulty with the design, and I have since watched a couple more people make sourdough, and I learned a technique that has greatly improved my bread. Okay, now if you will go watch Meg at Homestead, she does a tuck and pull, like whenever you are so after you do your last tuck and fold, you want to do a put the tuck and fold raw edge on bottom, and then just put your hands over the dough and kind of pull it towards you, tucking the sides in, and that's going to make a smooth top on your bread. It's going to pull it tight. So that way you're going to put that into the refrigerator, and on the floured towel or whatever you need to put it on. Let it ferment for 3 to 24 hours, depending on when you need to bake it. Once you take it out and score it, it's going to look like this. And let me show you, and you'll see the difference. Look at that, guys. So all of this right here was pulled tight. And so then I took a sharp razor blade and cut these and made them a lot deeper. And don't you see the difference in my two breads? And I'm going to go ahead and bake this one, and I'll show you what this one looks like at the end and let you know the differences, because I know I'll get comments if people don't watch this video all the way to the end. I'll get comments on how to do things a little differently, so I wanted to jump in here and let you know real quick. This is the second loaf that I've made using the same starter, same recipe, but a little bit of a different technique. So stick around, let's see what this looks like, and then I will see you next time.